Hello,
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 how are you?
I'm good. How
doing
are
well.
you?
Fine, I'm fine.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Could you please wait HWPL to clear, so we will start after 10 minutes, I think.
Okay. Done. It's Eugene, right?
Pardon? Eugene?
You're Eugene. Oh, David.
Ah, I'm David and
Oh, you're
Eugene.
David.
Yeah,
I have the
you.
same face as Eugene.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Hello, Mr. Patrick.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Hmm.
Buenos días. Okay, mahalipin laro mo ng
Hello, Mr. Hengoi. How are you doing? Hengoi? Mustafa Hengoi?
Mangin. Yung dahon yung mga fake academic feeling. Wala nun yung fake feeling na kasi tinagdaro. Yung mahalipin
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. I hope that everybody's doing well. Just one short notice. Please make sure to change your Zoom name to your name / your country. So, for example, if you look at my name, it's Armando, and then I'll put /USA. And if you need help changing the name, you can always type in the Zoom chat your name and then slash your country, and we can change it for you as well. We should be starting in just about 2 minutes. We're allowing a few extra of our peace educators to join. And just as a preview, today we'll be going over lessons 9 and 11 of the Peace Educators training, which means very soon the lessons of the Peace Educators will be completed. So you've persevered up to this point. Very thankful for everybody. And again, we'll be starting just in about 1 minute.
Okay, let's start today lecture. Instructor Armando.
Sounds good. Greetings, everyone. It's good to see you. Before I continue, can everybody give me like a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Well, I hope that everybody so far is having a wonderful day. Today we will be covering the lessons 9 and also lessons 11 of the Peace Educators training. So there are many educators from various different schools that have signed up to receive this training. And before we continue, one other thing that I would like to ask, although it doesn't seem like it's a problem here, but if everybody can please have your camera on, if you're in a situation where you are able to, I would greatly appreciate it. So to introduce myself, my name is Armando. I'll be leading today's lecture on lessons 9 and also 11. And I believe that everybody has a heart for peace. Every single person here is someone who is very precious in the world. So let's all welcome and greet one another. Firstly, with a bright smile. Can we smile? No smile. I hope you're happy. We're learning about peace, and it's something that will make us very happy. By the end of today's lesson, I'm sure our hearts would have been changed. And why don't we all unmute and greet one another by saying, "Nice to meet you. We are one." Should we say it together on three? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
We
meet you.
are one.
You're one.
Yeah, we are one. So once again, thank you very much to the educators who joined us to learn this peace education with the intention of making your students to be aware of peace and to enjoy learning about peace, even though they may be busy doing a lot of different things. If I can ask at some point for the PowerPoint to be shared, please. Okay. Can everybody see what's on the screen clearly? Okay, I will assume that that is a yes. So as I mentioned, we'll be going over lessons 9 and also lessons number 11. I hope that everybody gets a lot of inspiration and encouragement from today's lecture. And I hope it's of great use for you to be able to also conduct peace education. So last time we understood that one of the characteristics that peace citizens should have to overcome greed is love. And there's also other examples of love, such as gratefulness and consideration, and also sacrifice and forgiveness. But for today, we're going to look at lesson number 9, which is respect for the elderly. And lesson number 10, as we saw last time, it's efforts towards the preservation of heritage. Today, we'll also look at lesson 11 regarding a law-abiding spirit and a law for peace. And next time, we'll look at lesson 12, the completion of peace that humanity has long awaited. These 4 lessons are divided into 2 sections. There's a reason why lesson 9 and lesson 11 go together, and why lesson 10 and lesson 12 go together. And lesson 9 and 11 are mainly about order and providing the way to restore humanity that has collapsed. And lesson 10 and lesson 12 are more about the reasons why we have to make effort to build peace and what exactly it is that we have to do in order to build it. But for today, we'll start with lesson 9. If we can go to the slide about lesson 9. Yeah, so the title here is Respect for the Elderly. And once again, both lessons 9 and 11 are mostly about order. So we'll go on to our first question, which is, where is it that in humanity should order be established, and how can this order be maintained? Before thinking about where in humanity order should be established, we need to understand the characteristics of people. So I'm going to introduce a movie. Has anybody ever heard of the movie called Castaway? Maybe, maybe not, but I'll summarize it. So there's a man, his name is Chuck, and he washed up into an uninhabited island. He was totally alone, and he even had a volleyball that he named Wilson and made it his friend. So why did he give a name for the ball and consider it his friend? If there had been no one around him, he wouldn't have needed to behave, and he could have done whatever he wished. So we might think it's more comfortable when we're alone, but he was tormented when he was all alone. So this is why he made the ball his friend. This movie, what we can see from this movie is that it confirms that human beings are social beings. So people cannot live alone, but they all form one society to interact with others and to maintain relationships with the people around them. And they socialize with others in order to identify their existence. So in other words, each individual doesn't really exist by himself, but we all belong to a society. So what is a society? A society is a group of individuals helping each other and living together. So your family, your school, your country, even this whole world, this whole global village is a form of society. And living in a society, people build relationships with one another. Individuals form relationships as they interact with others, and individuals and their lives are greatly influenced by the society that they belong to. Therefore, order needs to be maintained in the relationship between individuals, between society and individuals, and between societies themselves. So let's think about the relationship among individuals first. The relationship between individuals is called human relationship or personal relation. Does anybody here know what percentage of changes in our emotions are dependent on personal relations? Is there any guess? What's the percentage of changes? Or how much of our emotions is dependent on personal relations? You may have thought of a number in your mind, but the answer is they account for about 85% of our emotions. Psychologists say that most of their clients come for their troubles regarding personal relations. It shows how difficult it is to have personal relations. It's not easy to find out the way to maintain relationships properly because there are various factors to be considered, such as who we're dealing with and what kind of a situation we're in. So there is a characteristic we need in order to be able to deal with this kind of issue. What is the characteristic or this quality that we need in order to effectively deal with human relations? The answer is we need courtesy, which is a respectful attitude towards others with sincerity. And it's also a way to express your kindness. So I'm going to tell you a little story regarding courtesy. There's something that happened in a certain family gathering. So family members who lived apart got together after a long time. And then suddenly a child started to cry out in tears because his older brother smacked him because he tried to take his brother's toy. The parents, they scolded the older child for making his brother cry. And then the older child felt that it was unfair and he started to cry as well. The atmosphere in that house was very low. However, the other kid got along with the older brothers. He said, "Is it fun? Can I play with it for a moment?" asked the boy with a smile. And he knew how to behave. He knew that he shouldn't touch other people's stuff without permission and knew how to ask permission in a polite way. So from this story, we could learn that courtesy is the showing of respect towards others. And when we're able to be polite with each other, we can build loving, respectful, and close relationships with others. When you think about situations when we get upset or when we get mad, most situations is when somebody mistreats you or someone is being rude to you. This is because when someone is being impolite to other people, it means that that person doesn't respect others. And if we know how to behave and is at least polite, then that person would have no problem getting along with others in society. Therefore, it's important to be courteous and to maintain order between individuals and to keep peace. Thus, courtesy is not just some stereotyped idea or something that's unnecessary, but courtesy is wisdom for us to be able to settle arguments and conflicts within our lives in which people coexist and live together so that we can all establish a peaceful society. Lesson 9 mainly deals with respect for elders. So why are we looking at respect for elders? Well, the answer is on page 21 on lesson 9. And it says in that page that courtesy and etiquette, it's right here on the screen, courtesy and etiquette both refer to respect and consideration for others, and it means expressing respect and gratitude towards elders. We show courtesy when we humble ourselves in front of our parents, teachers, and elders. Courtesy keeps our arrogance in check. By being courteous and polite, we can have the right body and mind to create order and harmony. It also helps us to develop genuine relationships with others, such as our parents and teachers, and it helps us to develop a better character. We can become people of peace who create peace in society by fostering order and harmony. So it's important to be courteous to everyone, because being courteous to others means that one respects and considers others. Furthermore, being courteous and polite to people like parents or teachers and elders should be more significantly dealt with. This is because it lets us remember those who have formed us as we are today. And it also reminds us of respect, of admiration, and also to have a thankful heart towards them. Why is this significant? Well, it's significant because being courteous allows us to learn with humble hearts, which helps us actually to develop a better character. This is why both in Eastern and Western culture, people have taught for a very long time that it is a duty as a human being to give thanks to those who are the root of our existence and to practice filial duty. And of course, parents, teachers, and elders also need to respect their children, the students, and also the youth. At some point, everybody grows up to become adults, and eventually they become elders of society. Youths who grow up in an experience culture which respects and admires elders because of their hard work won't hesitate about working for others within their society. This is because they naturally understand that they will be respected when they become elders as well. So when we introduce the concept of courtesy to students, the most important thing to teach them is to be courteous and polite to other people. They need to be taught to respect elders from their childhood so that they can humble themselves and admire their parents, teachers, and elders. And in that way, they will grow to become modest and wise people that can establish order and harmony within their society and achieve peace. I believe that some of us here might think that it sounds a bit unfamiliar and this might be an innovative attempt to connect peace to courtesy. We might wonder if it's too difficult for students to understand this idea. But when it comes to explaining the connection between peace and courtesy, we need to teach students that courtesy is the most effective way to maintain order within relationships. Then it'll be easier for students to understand the importance of the reason why they have to be courteous to build peace. Through lessons 3 and 4 that we looked at in the previous lessons, we found that peace is very closely related to maintaining order. Once again, courtesy is the most effective way to maintain order in relationships, and law in our world acts as a safety net to maintain social order. But courtesy is what makes people respect and admire and love one another. In addition, courtesy helps to build peaceful society without conflict by strengthening the bonds between the members of society. After reading lesson 9, we might come up with this kind of a conclusion. So since this textbook was made in Korea, it's different from the cultures of other countries in terms of courtesy. Especially in East Asia, there are social side effects that are caused by excessive emphasis on courtesy. In East Asia, there are many cases where people cannot express their opinion honestly in front of elders because of their respect for their elders. And there are people who flatter their superiors. These are side effects of focusing on the external rather than the internal value of courtesy. The aim of peace education is based on understanding the internal value of courtesy rather than just the external form of courtesy. In any culture, the fundamental spirit of courtesy is similar. The fundamental spirit of courtesy is loving one's parents, again, respecting their teachers, and having consideration for their neighbor. It is better to teach the external form of courtesy according to the culture of each country. So it's necessary to study and recognize the contents of each lesson that can be applied to the respective culture of your country. Please keep this in mind. So let's summarize the main points of lesson 9. Point number 1, why we need to do our filial duty for our parents. It is to show gratitude and respect our parents. That is the most universal value. Why do we need to respect and admire our teachers? We should be grateful for the teacher's passion and dedication because teachers are like a second parent who give birth to the person's inner parts, the inner being. Showing courtesy to elders is important because courtesy creates order and harmony within society, and it becomes a foundation for peace. So now we're going to go see lesson number 11 instead of lesson number 10. Again, lesson 9 teaches us that courtesy is the way to restore order among human relations. But lesson 11 teaches order between individuals and society and between societies. So let's go on to lesson number 11. So the title of this lesson, as you can see, is the law-abiding spirit and law of peace. We have to ask ourselves, what exactly is the relationship between peace and law? Law is actually essential to maintain social order. So we have to learn briefly, more specifically, about what law is. For example, there's rules for playing football, and there's also traffic rules that can be categorized within law. Law is the standard. Law is the minimum norm that is required for us to comply with the order for everybody to live harmoniously. Think of it this way, right? What do we think life would be like without law? Right? What would our life look like without law? Even if there was like a red light, what if everybody just passed the red light? A life without law, how dangerous would that be? So only the strong will survive in the absence of law. Survivors will live in fear of being a target to an attack. So law is very necessary for many people to be able to live peacefully. Under a situation without law, there will be disorder, which will trigger chaos. For example, what happens if there aren't any traffic signals? So the absence of the signal will put not only drivers, but also pedestrians in danger. The existence of law allows cars and people to move safely and effectively. So thanks to law, people can live peacefully and safely, which teaches that it helps build a favorable relationship and not competitive ones between people. Law enables people to protect themselves and to live safely. Therefore, law helps to maintain social order and to live peacefully and safely. There are two requirements that are needed to keep the favorable function of law. So let's understand what they are. Firstly, the existing law should function to keep social peace. Laws that take away freedom or give disadvantages or are used to oppress should be and are required to be amended. Even if favorable law is implemented, that law will be useless if people don't actually keep it or observe it. So the second requirement for law to keep a social functioning peace is each individual's law abidingness. And also, a stable society is made only when law is fully abided. So in case of a law-abiding spirit, this is explained in page number 10 of the Peace Education textbook. So we'll see it on the screen very soon. But it says that even though a law exists, if the one that needs to keep the law doesn't keep the law, then it's meaningless. The value of the law, it's in its law abidingness. For this law abidingness, one has to have a law abiding spirit first. The law abiding spirit should be on the basis of the heart and the willingness to live in peace and harmony within a community. So the important part and the impressive part is that a law-abiding spirit should be on the basis of a heart, and that willingness to live in peace and harmony within a community. If I were to reword that, basically, if I have a willingness or if I have a heart to want to live in peace and harmony within a community, then I must have a law-abiding spirit within me. So Unit 1, about the law-abiding spirit, it is the basis that law explains the reason. Law is a requisite that I explained earlier, the importance of a law-abiding spirit. Unit 2 covers the citizens of peace. Also, Unit 2 deals with the concept of law that applies to the inside of people and their behavior. Have you ever heard of the phrase, that person can live even without law? If all people keep conscience and are considerate towards others and respect others, the law would not be needed. Law is the system forcing people to keep what they should keep to live harmoniously. Unfortunately, people tend to keep it under a situation. People tend to not keep law in a situation where there is no law, which is the reason why law is needed. When peace law is considered, what we should keep is the peace. And also, we should consider that when people themselves become a law of peace, the world will undoubtedly become more peaceful. Now, when people themselves have a firm conscience within them that they themselves become the law of peace, the world will become peaceful. Therefore, in order to achieve peace, implementation of law that prohibits people from doing everything non-peaceful is necessary. Apart from it, a fundamental solution is also needed. The solution is that all people need to internalize peace law so that it can maintain peace even in the absence of a law. So Unit 1 explains the reason that law of peace is needed and the law should be kept. And Unit 2 deals with citizens of peace who internalize the law of peace and practice it. A citizen of peace is explained on page 15. So if we can turn to that page. So here it says, in the world, there are people who do not keep the law, even though they study the law. On the other hand, there are people who keep the law by consciousness, even though they don't know about the law. People who have the character traits of peace have the law-abiding spirit, and they keep the law voluntarily, by following the law of conscience. They sometimes hear from others that people can live, or that person can live even without the law. Then they become like a walking law of peace themselves. They become an example to others by abiding the law and can even teach others to abide by the law. We call these people citizens of peace. So people who have the character traits of peace have that law-abiding spirit. And they keep the law voluntarily by following the law of conscience, or their conscience. That person can become an example to others by abiding the law, and they can even teach others to abide the law too. Again, these are the citizens of peace. And page 14 explains the traits or the characteristics of peace. So traits of peace refer to characteristics based on the value to achieve peace. We have learned peace traits from lessons 5 to 11. For example, a thankful heart towards the grace received, consideration for the benefit of others, sacrifice without compensation, understanding and forgiveness towards others, politeness towards others and towards elders, effort to preserve legacy of ancestors, and a law-abiding spirit. We've looked at each one of these traits and their meanings, and also how to put them to practice. So Law of Peace, HWPL Peace Education, handles not only institutional laws, but also laws for us to internalize. So the necessity of citizens of peace and their role is covered on page 16. It's written that citizens of peace perform the role to establish peace in daily life with the trait of peace, to stop wars from armed forces and to solve conflicts not with armed forces, but by peaceful means. Unit 3 suggests that a citizen of peace, Unit 3 suggests what a citizen of peace should do in order to cease wars. The title of Unit 3 is International Document of Peace, Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, or DPCW. The DPCW can be an alternative remedy to the broken order of international communities, which is why Unit 3 presents this title. So the detailed information on the DPCW is accessed on pages 22 and 23. The declaration is an international legal document drafted to achieve complete peace on Earth and to leave it as a legacy for the future generations. It's comprised of 10 articles and 38 clauses. So what exactly is the difference between the existing international law and the DPCW? The ultimate goal of DPCW is to establish a permanent world peace that can be passed down as a legacy to future generations through the medium of international law. So it has the goal of achieving world peace more fully through the gradual development of international law. The current systems of international law has accomplished really a remarkable achievement in reducing the frequency of the tragedy of war. Nevertheless, the current international standards clearly need to be improved, and they need to be supplemented because in today's conflicts and international situation, it is constantly changing. The DPCW is based on international standards, such as the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which are already agreed upon by all nations. However, some elements of DPCW are more advanced, such as banning weapons and forcing the ICJ. The DPCW also further emphasizes that legal obligations of each country, which is the subject of peaceful acts, and it emphasizes the role of civil society. This is the biggest difference between current peace law and DPCW, and it's the reason why DPCW is the answer to peace. So HWPL created the DPCW with international law experts. And in addition, we're putting forth the effort to introduce this resolution to the General Assembly of the United Nations in order for the bill to be put into effect. Therefore, we're holding what's called the Legislate Peace Campaign. This campaign urges civil society, women, and young people to unite and to speak up in one voice to the leaders of the community and within the country, and to urge them to take action. The principal agents of this work are peaceful citizens. The peace education material specifically suggests what we need to do to effectively achieve peace and cessation of war, which is beyond just abiding the law well for peace. I believe it is meaningful that these contents are not just vague dreams of achieving world peace, but are actual and specific suggestions on what we can do for the achievement of world peace. When teaching about world peace, it would be good for students to be guided to think and act to solve various problems with the interest of peace in their homes, peace in their schools. Furthermore, think about peace in the nation and in the world as they grow. So for section 11, let us organize the law-abiding spirit and the key points of the peace law. So number one, law is a commitment to establish order and maintain peace in the community, and it is a fundamental moral. The view of the law's existence is in, or the value of the law's existence is in compliance. The purpose of peace education is to cultivate peace citizens. Peace citizens are a walking law of peace. A peace citizen is a messenger of peace who creates peace in the global community. Article 38 of the DPCW contains the fundamental spirit of conveying the precious legacy of a world without wars to the future generations. So, as global citizens, what can we do for our students to practice peace? As a teacher, what other peace activities can we guide our students to practice besides just teaching them? Besides just teaching them to have a heart of peace and to love peace. Another thing we can do is to support and promote the DPCW. It enables students to practice what they have learned through peace education. And it's the most fundamental and the biggest initiative. The law is like a path because once a law is enacted, everyone follows the path. Since the DPCW, the International Peace Law, is a great way to change the world instantly, supporting this law is the most effective way that can be done, or the most effective thing that can be done for peace. There are still many conflicts happening all over the world today. Lethal weapons are also evolving. It means that the existing international laws are very limited. For sustainable peace, we desperately need binding international laws to adapt to the rapidly changing circumstances. And this law that we need is the DPCW. So how can we support and promote this law? Well, there are many different ways, but the easiest and most powerful way is to sign up for HWPL. The more members of HWPL, the organization working for peace and promoting the DPCW, if there's more members, it can show that there's a lot of people who want this DPCW to be proposed. HWPL has a clear answer to peace. First, there are specific ways to achieve peace. for example, DPCW and peace education. And through lesson 4, we've agreed that peace should be built in order. So if fostering inner order in individuals is peace, then establishing external order is the role of DPCW. Law carries the role of authority and supervisory. The DPCW addresses aspects beyond what peace education can accomplish. It complements existing international law. Article 10 is one of the major innovations of DPCW. So in the current international society, the role of non-state actors is increasing. Therefore, the participation of the states, non-governmental organizations, and citizens of the world is essential in achieving peace. In other words, peace can be achieved when all international community actors recognize that peace is a task for the entire global village and not just a specific individual or specific country. This obligates nations to strive for a culture of peace, providing a shortcut to implement peace education globally and advance global peace. So secondly, HWPL focuses on the power of civil society. It presents concrete methods for achieving peace, urging citizens to take the lead. International law experts and leaders of relevant organizations worldwide are working towards the creation of DPCW and are striving for its adoption by the United Nations. However, the realization of the DPCW requires collaborative efforts in citizens, just as gears interlock and make a system work. HWPL's initiatives recognize that peace cannot be achieved through the efforts of just one side alone. We are all one under the name of peace. So, for the DPCW to be adopted, your enrollment in HWPL's membership is something that becomes very crucial. Can the DPCW be adopted? Can peace be achieved? And what do you think about these things? Belarusians were initially over 99% skeptical about democracy in their country, but eventually it witnessed its realization. So why did that happen? Because even if small, there was a desire for democracy in people's hearts. Peace can be achieved because there's no one who dislikes peace. It will happen someday. We might not know until we try, and all of us just have to take the step. Teachers, as creators of students' hearts, become like a second parent in class. We have to put up the barrier of DPCW to ensure that children raised with peace education carry their love for peace in society without wavering. Joining HWPL is simple. You can access the membership screen directly through the QR code, promote DPCW and HWPL memberships through events or newsletters, ensuring the unyielding support for peace from these children. So let's let students go beyond just knowing what they've learned in peace education, and let's apply it to the real world. If students know about the HWPL organization and they support the DPCW, they can introduce HWPL and DPCW to their families, even their friends and also their neighbors. And as a teacher, you can emphasize with the idea that this goes just beyond acquiring knowledge, and it has significant educational effects. Even though one person may seem small, imagine the impact that individuals can have when they come together. I hope you can show your students that the day will come when the DPCW is established and peace education takes place worldwide. As a teacher, please instill this hope in your students by emphasizing that the future of our world is not darkened by conflicts, but it holds the promise of peace. The hope of children has the power to change the future. I hope that you and your students will be among the first to leave an honorable legacy by joining HWPL and contributing to the inevitable achievement of peace. Lastly, I would like to quote the words from Chairman Lee of HWPL. He said, "Everyone, take a look at the night sky. There are so many stars that you cannot even count. Some people say that there are greater things in the universe than the Earth. However, they have not found a star like the Earth, where things can live. Should we destroy such a great place like the Earth? Please think about it. If war breaks out, then it will not be war like those in the past. It will be a war where the Earth will be destroyed completely. After the war breaks out, what can we do? Right at this time, we have to put in a system so that war will never occur again. The device for peace, the DPCW, can be realized through HWPL membership. And if we act, it will come true." So that was the lecture today on lessons 9 and 11. Now, lastly, we'll have a time to talk about our impressions of today's education and our resolutions. So is there anyone from our peace educators here that would like to share a reflection or an impact or impression of today's lesson and your resolution or your determination? This is an open time to share, so anybody can unmute and share.
Man, get business. Down I get business, no day I'm asking.
Would anybody like to share what they've learned or their impact from today's lesson? Okay, how about let's see. Lena, educator Lena, would you like to share your impression of today's lesson or your impact?
Well, today's lesson training was very amazing because of the topic we're dealing with, law-abiding, respect for elderly. This is very important in a society because in all of that, if you respect and admire people, there is a lasting peace. And when there is a law, people go by it. Even if you don't want to go by that law, you are forced. Then in that you can walk in peace, lasting peace. The whole world will be very peaceful when there is order, there is law, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate your impression. How about Philip? Sir Philip, would you like to share your impression or impact of today's lesson? You may need to unmute on your screen.
Okay, I've done that. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, with regards to today's lesson, to be very honest with you, a lot has actually been garnered from, the issues that you've been making clarifications on, especially with, special regards to courtesy. Like you are saying there, courtesy has got a huge role to play in our existence as human beings. Before this time, I used to be a student in a boarding home during my high school days. I actually, went through a boarding system of, learning where boys were kind of residing, and from where on a daily basis they would go, to their school and attend, for that day. So during this period, I actually came to realize that to have get along well, not only with my contemporaries, but even with my elders who were the senior prefects in such an environment, courtesy then has actually got a huge role to play, which I always, almost always ensured that such was done. You see, and with this, I ended up, prevailing on my elders, not only to give me what I needed then, but to kind of always be protective of my movement within the very environment of the school compound and the very boarding home where we are based then. So in a way, courtesy is a very important quality that every human being must kind of, display wherever he or she finds, herself and that kind of thing. Courtesy is actually very, very important. And that's my impression of such a thing.
Thank you very much for sharing, Philip. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
For anybody else that would like to share your impression.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can I go through?
Ishmael, yes?
Yeah,
You'll be
can I
our
go
last
through?
one, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. Am I free to go?
You're free to share your impact on today's. Yeah.
All right. The lessons today, it was so mind-blowing and touching. One of my favorite aspect of it is about law abiding, and you had a stretch on the HWPL initiatives and what they are about, how their strength is moving about. But one thing I captured from what you said is respect. And I want to say to each and every one here that with due respect for the rule of law that is implemented through our peace education that we are going to take out to the younger ones, we can be able to have the easiest way to initiate peace in our communities, in our states, in our countries, in our region, in our continents, and the world at large. Because if Africans, let me just carry it down to Africans. If Africans are bred up with respect in their homes, not houses, in their homes, we will have respect for the rule of law. But if you grow up with no respect for others, you will grow up with no respect for the rule of law. If you grow up with no respect for your fellow human, for life, you will grow up with no respect for peace. You will grow up violently. So I found out one of that's the major factor. That's the major factor that is giving a way to violence in the world. That is giving way to ruthlessness in the world. Respect. So it is key that every peace educator can go about educating the younger ones, because it's not our generation now. We're talking about the next generations that are to come. We need to feed them to have respect for life. We need to feed them to have respect for the rule of law. We need to feed them to have respect for elderly people. This is not only the school. This have to do with the churches. This have to do with the mosques. This have to do with anti-Christians, religions, those who are not even religious. It has to do with everybody, because when we have that mindset of respect, the world will be a better place. And I could have shown higher lights, but I came in late. So the little that I acquired, that's what I want to share. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ishmael, for sharing. And we'll have one more to share. How about Aya Seba from
Hello.
Sierra Leone? Would you like to share, sir?
Hello, yeah. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Just like I said earlier on today, the volume of the presentation towards me is very much low today. But just like in support of what my brother just said, what impressed me today is about this law abiding, in maintenance of peace. And actually, in our societies, in our communities, in the world, if actually people are law abiding, it's very much important. If I take a case study of my nation, one of the major challenges we are having today in my nation is lawlessness. People don't want to obey law, people want to ignore law, and the maintenance of law also, because that one has to do with the governments, the maintenance of law, but it is very more weak. So, and that is why there is insecurity in this part of the world that we find ourselves. But I'm sure with this peace education, we can this particular training is impacting our lives, and I'm sure in the future, in the near future, we will also impact our students, colleagues. I'm sure by doing that, we'll be able to enhance peace. But so law abiding is key, because if there is no law, if people cannot obey, there will be anarchy, there will be chaos where there is no law. And that one actually will not help to sustain peace. Thank you very much. I just want to stop here.
Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate it. Everybody who shared today, thank you so much. And everybody who participated and who has been participating diligently in this peace education, I just wanted to give you a round of applause for your perseverance and also your heart and dedication to learn about peace. I believe all of us here will become that law-abiding citizen and the walking law of peace and that citizen of peace. One way that we'll commemorate today's lesson is actually by taking a photo all together before we finish. And there's also one announcement about one assignment that you may receive. If we go on to the next slide, please read the contents of the Peace textbooks, lesson 10 and 12, and make sure to write down some of the key points or the key words. This will be our assignment for the next time. And then again, before we close, we're going to go on to a time of taking a picture. So if we can do, firstly, who will take the picture? Okay. All right. So we have someone to take the picture. Let's do our We Are One pose, and I'll count us down. So we'll take a picture in 3, 2, 1. We are one. And one more time. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We are one. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. It was good to see you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining today and have a great day, everyone.
Everybody, see you again. Good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a happy week. Have a happy week.
Thank you. You as well. We'll see you next time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. To all of my Sierra Leonean brothers, happy Independence Day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.